The Comanche Nation Entertainment First Alert Storm Tracker. Cameron, it looks like the tornado anyway might have weakened a bit. But this thing's been spitting out so many tornadoes tonight. What are you seeing from your vantage point?
Right now I'm about to pull over and get a visual because, like I said, I've just been trying to play the position game and get myself into a good spot where I can be safe and keep moving and keep an eye, because I got in between those two rotations, so I had to move to of course stay away from those center rotations. But I'm watching, Ken, if you look northeast of Granfield, there could be another area of rotation that's trying to show up. It's weak right now, but it could be something trying to show up. Maybe the storm's trying to restructure itself, and like I said, I'm pulling over right now, and then I can get those cameras set up and we can get a look and I can give you some eye visuals from my end.
All right, let's go back to the radar, and I just got this report. This is from emergency managers there in Tillman County. Say tornado on the ground near Frederick at this time. You can there again, man. It's just so difficult to see. Just incredible, and I've been doing, folks. I've been doing weather over 20 years. And I've never seen a storm behave like this. I mean, I know that they do sometimes. I know there's been some up there in Nebraska, but here, I've never seen that in my career. This is something brand new to me. So if we take a look here, you can see the circulations on radar. It's going to be difficult to see the one back towards Frederick, and I'm going to go on the wall if we could. So it's going to be difficult to see the ones back towards Frederick because the storm is right over the radar site. Remember, the radar looks in the horizontal. It can look vertical too, but it has to be out a ways from it. So going to be difficult to see that one over the radar site, but it's very close to the radar site at this hour. I see another circulation developing here just southeast of Hollister. You can see that circulation developing right here, and it's moving and kind of drifting to the southwest here. It's hard to tell what's going on down here, but there looks like there could be multiple spin-ups in that area too. Most of what we're seeing are small tornadoes, but occasionally they'll become larger tornadoes. We have still what looks like to me there could be a weaker circulation. Probably has lifted back up maybe, but this was actually earlier was considered an anticyclonic tornado. Most tornadoes spin in the counterclockwise, but this particular tornado has been spinning anticyclonically, clockwise. Usually these are weak, but that's actually been pretty strong. It's produced some damage there, and that's why the Weather Service went with what we call a considerable damage threat. So that's a particularly dangerous situation with that. This is a dangerous thunderstorm as it drops south, and it looks like we still got those circulations over near Granfield. There's another one northeast of Granfield too. This one doesn't look all that tight, but it does have a little bit there on the Cotton and Tillman County line, and this is not far away from the Red River here. You got Randolette and Naval down in this area. You're probably next up here as this storm makes its way in those areas. But again, we got tornado near just southeast Hollister. Looks like to me there might be one developing here. There could be one over the radar site. Hard to say on that one. The reports from spotters were that there was one there, but very, very difficult to tell at this point in time. Now, looks like the anticyclonic tornado has weakened northwest of Granfield, but we can't let our guard down. Remember, these things have been cycling. You'll see it spit out one, it goes away, it'll move around erratically, and then another one will pop up. So you have to kind of keep an eye on it. So I cannot put Granfield in the clear. I certainly cannot put Frederick in the clear. I think this is another tornado developing southeast of Hollister. We can go east of Granfield. The rotation couplet on this one is not nearly as tight, but it could tighten up too over here to Cotton County. So if you live in western Cotton County, southwestern Cotton County, eastern parts of Tillman County, east of Granfield, keep an eye on that. Right now, Granfield looks okay, but remember, these things have been circling and been recycling around, so we cannot put Granfield. We cannot put Loveland in the clear. Cannot put any of these areas in the clear. So we're watching this area pretty closely at this hour here. Looks like Cameron's still trying to track and try to get himself in position to be able to see these things as they make their way through the area. So hopefully, I'm hoping this storm will weaken here pretty soon, and it should, because on the radar you can see what's called convective inhibition that's increasing. But look at the hook on that thunderstorm there that's developed southeast of Frederick. That is a big hook. And that is on the back side of this storm. These storms are ingesting something. I thought that this was an outflow boundary. That's just kind of the way it looked to me. But maybe this isn't an outflow boundary. Maybe it's a gravity wave. And, you would think outflow boundary, but it's hard to say. But these storms are they're ingesting something into them that is making them spit out tornadoes. We see systems all the time come through that don't produce anything. But these, for whatever reason, have something going on in them. I'll have to go back and do a research analysis on this to figure out what caused this here. I mean, even the Storm Prediction Center didn't predict this. So from the National Weather Service, there are multiple ongoing or imminent tornadoes across central and eastern Tillman County, one just southeast of Hollister, one just northwest of Granfield, and another developing east of Granfield between Granfield and Duval. So Duval, keep an eye on that. So the Weather Service, as well is just baffled by this as well. This is crazy, about what's happening. But again, Cameron is trying to get himself in position. I got a good view of his tracker feed here, and unfortunately, this is what we call an HP thunderstorm, HP supercell. And they are. This is producing just a lot of heavy rain, and the tornadoes that are within this heavy rain area are rain wrapped. The question is, will this make a run down into Wichita County? It's going to, I think it's going to miss Wilbarger. Well, you think it is, but I mean, if it were to back up a little bit, it could still. So right now, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to say the northeastern part of Wilbarger County. We're talking about north of Harold here. We're going to keep you into the danger area here for a little while longer. I think, Vernon, you're going to be okay. Electra, keeping an eye on you, because this storm up here, again, with this erratic movement, I don't feel comfortable with just taking anybody out of it. But the trajectory of these storms is kind of east-southeast. Notice all this light blue on the radar. This is what we call SIN, convective inhibition. It forms at night. It's warm air above the Earth's surface, and you've lost that daytime heating, so you don't have as much warm air rising. So it kind of caps off the atmosphere. But whatever this is here, I'm not sure what that is. You think it was an outflow boundary, but whatever this is here seems to be breaking that SIN and breaking that cap down and allowing these storms to ingest all this really tropical soupy air that we have in place. And there's just enough upper level wind flow to allow the storms to remain organized. And I think whatever's going on with these storms is tied to this boundary here. But either way you look at it, these storms, hopefully they'll weaken, but the trajectory would take this down, and they're not moving fast, folks. So it's going to take a while to get here. But maybe midnight, maybe even a little bit sooner, could get down here to the Red River here. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Weather Service went with some tornado warnings or some type of severe thunderstorm warnings for Wichita County. So your danger zone area, eastern Wilbarger, northeastern Wilbarger. I'm going to go ahead and say most of Wichita County. We're going to watch very closely and see what the behavior of these storms is like. Cotton County, Tillman County, tornadic threat is south of Lawton, but you've been getting hammered with a lot of rain tonight. And you're also seeing this now enter into southeastern parts of Cotton County here. So Stevens County, not tornadic up here, but heavy rain. Jefferson County, we'll see what happens. It seems to be the western side of this that's the tornadic side. It looks to me like this is transitioning from the supercell look to more of just a good heavy rain event moving into North Texas. But I'm still watching this hook back in here, and there's multiple little areas in here that could be doing something. But it'll be interesting to see if these storms can manage to find their way down into North Texas. There's a lot of unfavorable air showing up on radar here, but these storms, again, have been defying the logic, and it could wind up doing something down our way too. So we cannot let our guard down yet. Let's just keep an eye on it to see what happens. Remember, we are on our 24/7 news channel. We're going to stay right here too, but we are on our 24/7 news channel at this time. That is 6.4. For those of you on digital, you can get it. You can find that channel on our website at newschannel6now.com. Also the app, and we're also on Facebook Live right now too. So multiple ways to stay up with it. Remember your First Alert 6 weather app. If you want to go to bed, that's fine, but make sure you have your notifications turned on just to be on the safe side. So watching this area closely here to make sure nothing is going on. I don't have any. Yes, sir. There is a wall cloud in Duval that he's getting in position. Okay, so I guess Cameron. Let's go to Cameron. I haven't checked in with him in a minute. Cameron, what's your position, and what are you looking at from your vantage point?
All right, Ken, right now I just entered Duval, and obviously the camera is not properly pointed right now, or obviously it might be, it's hard to tell. But I just entered Duval, and I can confirm there is a large wall cloud that is moving towards Duval, and it looks like it's developing on what looks to be a new hook forming on that storm for Duval. So large wall cloud, I haven't seen any funnels yet, but it is in fact a large wall cloud that is going for Duval right now, Ken.
Yeah, I wish we could get a good shot of that from your vantage point, because from our vantage point at least, and I know you're out there in the field, you're able to see it. But from our vantage point, it's really difficult, because mostly what we see is just a lot of heavy rain But with no, you can see it there. That was a good picture. So when you're chasing at night, you have to rely upon the lightning to give you that to illuminate the skies. It does make chasing at night a lot more difficult. You know, you say it might be dangerous, but you know, storm chasers like Cameron, they know what they're doing out there, and we know how to keep ourselves in a safe position. Now, there are some of those people out there who don't, but we know what we're doing here, so we can. I feel safe with having Cameron out there at night. He keeps himself out of the dangerous spots. But the wall cloud would be there on the right. You can see a tail cloud going into it. You can see it there on the right whenever it lightens. You can see that little pointy cloud. That's a tail cloud. That's your warm inflow going into the storm here. And then you get your wall cloud right there, kind of where some of these contrasting temperatures kind of take place. You get your rear flank downdraft coming into that area and just other things. But anyway, you got a wall cloud there. And on radar anyway, I do see a circulation. It does not appear to be tight, but it does kind of have a look of the way a lot of the other storms have looked tonight. You know, it kind of looks kind of broad at one point, and then you start seeing the inflow really increase in the thunderstorm, and as that happens, and you start seeing everything take place, and you wind up with wedges. So this is going to be dropping southeast, but as you get a circulation in it, there's no telling. It may not stay southeast. It could move east. It could move in any direction at this point in time. But there is, let's go, there Cameron is. You got a good shot of the wall cloud, Cameron. Is the lights on the camera there, the street lights, city lights, is that Duval?
Yeah, Ken, let me get you in position right now. I just parked. I got a good spot, so I have a way to quickly move if I have to. But I'm about to turn that camera here in just a second. Let me hop in the back. 1 second, Ken.
All right, well, just get it done, get into position, camera, and then we'll go back to you here in a minute. So, all right, back over to the radar. We're full screen here. You know, Duval not too far at all away from the Red River. That's very close to where the the casinos are, and this is very close to Duval at this hour. So what we're looking at here on radar, I'm going to walk over to the wall so I can kind of show you here. And I just like being there. And it looks like still looks to me like there's some brief spin-ups over near Granfield at this time. I can kind of show you just based upon, and some of this could be some disorganization and clutter in here, but there looks like there might be something here and something here. So on either side of Granfield, there could be some brief something there, okay? Very brief, whatever, very weak, whatever that is. But this is a bigger circulation, a little bit stronger. These are these strong inflow winds that are feeding into this, that just keep on driving and feeding into this supercell. It's just feeding it, that moisture. This would be your winds blowing away from the radar, and you've got kind of a bit of and there's a new tornado warning that does include, looks like Burt Burnett at this hour, but this is your circulation. It's getting a little tighter in here just north of Duval. You may have a developing, and the way the storm has been behaving, the way this has been doing this evening, and remember, this is very unexpected here, that we are seeing these things usually tighten up and produce. You know, the last few scans have been weak, mostly weak stuff, but it's still something we got to keep an eye on. So there's your strong inflow. That's your warm, moist air feeding the thunderstorm, and this is your winds kind of wrapping around on the backside of the spinning updraft. We call that the rear flank downdraft, and you can see it tight. So now we got a tornado. Looks like it's developing again. Cameron, let's go to you. Cameron, radar presentation has increased dramatically here in the last scan. Looks like we had another developing tornado north of Duval. What are you seeing?
Yep, Ken, right now I am, looks like just east of Duval, or just a little bit east of Duval, cut by a couple miles, and I see that velocity couplet right there. And as I roll down the window, take a look, plenty of lightning. You can see looks to be a little bit of a rear flank downdraft right now. Looking through it though, I do not see a wall cut right now, but the rain, it is hot, and it's HP. There's a lot of rain with these, so it's hard to see in. Not only that, it is also nighttime. You can might even be able to hear the wind with these right now. But something that could be good, Ken, is that compared to earlier, I felt like there was some tropical air in place that these storms were feeding into. However, right now near Duval, the air does not feel tropical. It feels rather cool. So maybe that could be a saving factor for Duval right now or the surrounding areas. But right now, I do not see a wall cloud right now. I'm looking into the rear flank downdraft, but with all the rain in my position in relation to the storm, just not able to see it right now.
Because it's rain wrapped, but that is a really nice circulation that's showing back up on radar again. It looks to me like it's wrapped up, and probably producing a tornado again there, just barely north of Duval. But it's rain wrapped, and see what I'm talking about. The storm was moving south, the rotation was, and now guess what? Now that the circulation is tightened up, it's moving east again. So that's actually good news because that makes it miss Duval. But I think, Cameron, I think what's happening is I think that the warm, moist inflow is kind of out ahead of it over towards Randall. That's a strong signature to me on radar. I'm looking at the, trying to see, let's check this out. I'm not sure. So I do see that was a tornado there from somebody, but that was earlier, so that's not right now. I'm trying to see if there's anything new from the Weather Service here, and nothing new as of late. But if we look at the radar, pretty good circulation showing up there north of Duval. Now the tornado warning did include Burkburnett, so if you're watching me, you probably are saying, "Hey, tornado sirens going off in Burkburnett," and it's for good reason too. But this has been a real complicated situation with this thunderstorm tonight. It's been doing a lot of weird things, defying a lot of logic. But this was a tornado. I believe this is probably maybe a tornado up here. Duval is roughly about right there where my finger is. So this looks like a tornado. You got your greens and your reds here, and this is totally wrapped in rain. You're not going to be hard to see this one here. It was moving south, and now it's kind of got its act together. It's moving to the east a little bit. It's going to move to the east. And the way the motion and erratic emotions have been with these storms tonight, they will move east, and then they'll kind of become more stationary, and then sometimes they'll move back north and then back northwest, only to see new mesocyclones, new rotation develop on the backside of it. I think we might see another little area of a rotation developing just south of Granfield here now too. So there is Burkburnett. You are in this tornado warning. This circulation appears to, at least right now, appears as though it's going to stay north of you, but we'll have to wait and see. But I would be concerned maybe in the Randallette area and over towards Cookietown, watching these areas. These are well south of Lawton, by the way. But we're going to have to watch as these storms move south. Now, you would think that this little line here is an outflow boundary. Cameron did talk about some cool air, and I wonder if that is an outflow. It's just so hard to say what's going on, because usually when an outflow boundary pushes through, it undercuts the updrafts, and then it kills the tornado chances. But these have not been doing that tonight. These have been defying a lot of logic. So that's why you need to be paying weather, be very weather aware, know anywhere out ahead of these storms here. So right now I'm worried about, I'm going to watch, and that circulation appears to have weakened some here now. So that's good. That is weakened. Looks like whatever tornado was down with that has probably gone back up. But if you're down to the south of Granfield, we're watching this area a little bit here too. That tornado warning goes down into Burke, just north of Wichita Falls itself. It includes Randallette. We're going to watch these areas closely. We still got the circulation just northwest of Randallette. It appears as though that the transition has gone from the larger, more dangerous tornadoes to more of the quick spin-up type things, which is something you would expect with these types of thunderstorms. But we'll have to just wait and see. We certainly can't let our guard down by any means. Cameron, radar presentation not quite as impressive as it was. From your vantage point, it doesn't look too good, at least on the camera here, monitor at the station.
Yep, Ken. I'm not sure if the camera has it right now, but right now I do see a large, low-hanging wall cloud, and however, it's not as low as we've seen earlier in the evening. So that is, of course, good news right there. But again, it looks like it is a large, very well-structured wall cloud. So I'm pulling off right now. We're about to get to a really good spot to get a camera shot on this wall cloud right now, so everyone at home can see what we're looking at. So give me 1 second, Ken. We'll pop this in the camera feed.
Go ahead. We'll go back to radar, and I'll see when you got it up, and I'll come back to you here. It's a very messy storm. This is a really messy storm. This isn't like most of our supercells. They're not like real classic and beautiful to look at. These things are just, they're enshrouded in rain. And even from a trained eye, it's real difficult to tell exactly what's going on here with these storms. I believe that that is an outflow boundary dropping to the south, but these storms are still somehow able to ingest all this humid air, even though they're north of that outflow boundary. It's just hard to say. But right now it doesn't matter. We just got to track these storms as they move southward. So the tornado warnings, let me kind of reiterate where they're at. We can put all warnings on here. There's probably a lot of flood warnings up north too. So as these storms make their way to the southeast, flooding is going to be imminent because they're not moving very quickly. We've had a lot of rain that have fallen over these things. Let's go back to Cameron. That's a really nice shot. Cameron, large wall cloud where you're at now. Let's go full screen, Cameron.
Yep, Ken, that is in fact the large wall cloud I was just talking about. It almost looks like it's broken in two, and it's very possible with this situation where we could be seeing two areas of rotation just with the erratic movement of these storms. Like you said, start to move to the east, and then they're moving southeast, and because of that, we've seen multiple areas of rotation on one singular storm. However, right now, where I'm sitting right now, I'm just east of Duval by a couple miles. I can see I-44 from where I'm at, but You know, the thing is right now, the inflow, it's definitely picking up. The winds are really starting to flow into the storm right now. But another good news, like I said earlier, is that the air that is flowing into the storms is not what we felt earlier. Earlier, it was that warm, humid air. This time around, it's more of a cooler air. So that could be a little bit of a limiting factor for these storms. But yeah, right there on the camera with those lightning flashes, you can see the wall cloud right there. I don't see any funnels coming from it, but we'll keep an eye to see. But we can see good inflow bands feeding that storm right now as well still. So it's still getting some more moisture flowing into it. So not quite done yet, but we'll keep an eye on this to see if it wants to try to produce a funnel cloud or even a tornado.
You know, even the Weather Service is sitting here talking about one of their latest thing they said here is saying that you know, that these storms are developing well behind that outflow boundary, which is, you know, that's something that usually happens. So you know, and their last thing they say is just see how long this can last. You know, there's definitely something going on that's very difficult to be able to. So we do get a report, tornado on the ground north of Duval, Cameron. Tornado on the ground north of Duval. This comes from Storm Spotters there. So do you? I mean, radar signature doesn't really indicate that, and from your vantage point, I don't see it either. But that doesn't mean it's not there. Do you see anything right now?
No, Ken, I do not see a tornado to report on. I've got pretty good visual with the amount of lightning there is. I don't see anything on the ground from my position right now.
It looks, I mean, it's hard to say from my vantage point, but it looks like there is a funnel there on the left there of the wall cloud there. That could just be part of the cloud itself, or it could be the RFD trying to wrap around it. But it looks like a funnel there. Do you see that what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see exactly what you're talking about, and I don't believe that's a funnel. It looks like it's a bit too high up, and it looks like it's part of the wall cloud structure almost. It could be RFD. It's got just about the same amount of lowering as the wall cloud does, and you know, the inflow right now is really kicking up now, Ken. So we'll see, but again, the inflow that's feeding into the storm right now, it's very cool, but again, still watching long band of rich, warm inflow go into these storms, so we'll see. I heard you talking about that outflow boundary. Maybe these outflow boundaries are preventing these things from dropping any lower than funnels or anything. Like I said, you just said there was a tornado report in north of Duval. So right now, it's kind of going against a lot of our logic that we do know in terms of mesoscale and the outflow boundaries and how that affects tornado formation.
That's for sure. That's for sure. This thing should not be still producing tornadoes, not based upon what I'm seeing. Now, they go to the radar, and I will say that that it does not look nearly as organized as it did. And that's the good news. It doesn't look quite as organized. And when we talk about the outflow boundary, that's going to be rain-cooled air. You know, thunderstorms and tornadoes, they need to ingest warm air. It's important, it's essential that they continue to have that feed of warm air. When that warm air gets cut off, they can no longer form. They can no longer condense down to the Earth's surface. They become elevated. But if you look in here, you still see some little areas of red and green, and this is kind of dropping due south, about to cross the Red River here towards Burt Burnett. So we cannot let our guard down. You know, there's still some little circulations in here. These are about to cross the Red River up here towards the Boy Scout camp. So, of course, there's also the golf course up here too, so kind of close to that area. You have to watch it because this thing, the way it's been behaving, is it's just been quickly spinning up. But it doesn't look as organized as it did. So hopefully the downtrend has begun with this this incredible storm. You know, you still see some different cloud movements back off to the west here, kind of on the other side of Granville. Some tornado warnings remain over here. None of these look to be producing tornadoes at this time. You know, what's weird about this is this thing is we've been seeing what we call anticyclonic tornadoes tonight. That means that anticyclonic would be the opposite cyclonic. It means think about a clock. Cyclonic is clockwise. Anticyclonic is the reverse. Usually low pressure tornado goes in reverse. But we've seen some anticyclonic tornadoes tonight, which is also fairly rare to see that. So it looks like we might have a little bit of a spin somewhere just north of Burt Burnett in this thing, and you can still see other little spots in here. You know, like I say, the Storm Spotters did report a tornado north of Duval earlier. I still see Cameron. Cameron, you still got that wall cloud there. Is it looking any bigger, better?
It's starting to, you know, that left piece that you mentioned that looked like a funnel, it looks like it has now merged with the main wall cloud itself, so it might be starting to structure itself a little bit better right now. So it's starting to structure itself a little bit better. No funnels that I've seen right now. You know, the lightning is still actually pretty good in terms of watching this. And I'm still watching those inflow bands feed this thing, start pumping up with more moisture, more energy, and more, you know, just more ingredients for what it needs. It's a hungry storm, and yeah, the big thing is that that wall cloud is still holding its structure, and that piece that we did see off to the left of it in that shot that looked like a funnel but was just dislodged, it has now merged with the wall cloud, so it does give us signs that this wall cloud is still holding pretty good intensity right now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, Cameron, but at least on radar anyway, the appearance is no longer as impressive as it was. There's still some strong winds in that, but we might be starting to see the influences of that outflow boundary now producing some cool winds into it, so that might be the saving grace. So we might be all right on Burkburnett. We're not going to let our guard down yet because of the wild and crazy way this storm has behaved tonight. So we're not going to let our guard down there yet. I mean, how often do we talk about tornado warnings producing like this at 11 o'clock at night in our parties? It's the El Nino weather pattern. It's got to be. But, there's potential spins over here south of Walters. There's, near Duval, there's been to me, though, there's nothing that looks super organized right now. I don't see anything. There may be a little bit of a rotation there, but it could be a loft there. It could be elevated kind of northeast of Duval. I'm watching these strong outbound winds blowing south of Hollister, but you're not seeing the greens and the reds match up there anymore. I'm going to look at the reflectivity real fast to see if the appearance is changing any. I do believe that you might be seeing the influences of not only that rain-cooled air or perhaps the getting choked off. You don't really have that warm, moist air behind that outflow boundary now. It looks like the outflow boundary has really taken over. And this storm complex looks like, to me anyway, it's becoming outflow dominant. And I don't know that we're going to see as many tornadoes now. Earlier, that outflow boundary was kind of tied to the, it was kind of tied back into here. And I felt like the storms were still able to ingest some warm air from somewhere, but they don't appear to be doing that now. Plus, there's a lot of the cap down here, pretty capped atmosphere. So that could also tend to perhaps maybe thwart it some. We can widen this and you really can see, but that outflow boundary is actually helping to erode that cap as it drops south. You can see it clearing out that convective inhibition. So, that might be something. But as these storms drop south, they're going to produce flooding. It looks like the heavy rain has now shifted out of Lawton. Lawton, it looks like that you're now in the severe and heavy rain clear. Still seeing it down there in the southern part of Comanche County for a little bit longer anyway. And Duncan, you're getting some heavy rain and storms. Looks like we got, flood warnings back into Lawton. Looks like no severe thunderstorm warnings right now. But we do got the tornado warnings down to the south, but it'll be interesting to see. Let me see if there's anything new. I don't see anything new from the Weather Service. Remember, the Weather Service is who issues the tornado warnings here. I do not. I just tell you what to see and call it like it is. But I just believe, Cameron, that the overall appearance on storm. I still see your wall cloud though. Just doesn't appear to be what it was. Cameron, you still see that wall cloud there, right?
Oh yeah, I have a very good visual of that wall cloud. And yeah, it's definitely not as structured. It's still showing signs of trying. It's still showing some inflow bands. However, they're not as intense. Looks like there's actually a pretty large chunk of an inflow band about to head into it. But that wall look that we look for, it's not really there. It's a bit more of a ragged look, not as well put together right now. A lot of loose pieces hanging on that wall cloud right now. So we're watching. It's moving. These things are. I think these storms are starting to pick up a little more speed, Ken. But the good news is that these wall clouds are not as structured as they were, but they're still marching on. So we'll keep an eye to see if these want to try to produce anything right now.
All right, back over to the radar. I'm focusing on southern Stevens County now. Looks like we have a developing tornado near Comanche there in Stevens County now too. This is with these storms are actually kind of away from that outflow boundary, and it's spinning there. So I bet we have a little tornado developing over Comanche, southern Stevens County, and it looks like to me that that is going to perhaps spin, and we could see some perhaps warnings come out here pretty soon. So no warning there yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if we did see one come pretty soon. Back down to the south, we're looking at these storms, and I do not, for the first time in a while, I do not see rotation in the clouds here in these storms here. It looks like we're now starting to see these storms, at least from an organizational standpoint, try to perhaps maybe lose some of that punch now they're dropping to the south. And we talked about this earlier, how we thought that the area south of the Red River, isn't as favorable, and it looks like that storm complex has finally become purely outflow dominant. It's no longer ingesting that warm air here. So, this was definitely a baffling storm. I'm still very stumped by, today. And there's some things that happen that, after you've been following weather as long as I have and as closely as I have, you still see stuff all the time that you learn from. You never stop learning. You never stop learning, that's for sure. There's your new tornado warning out for southern parts of Stevens and northern Jefferson County, and that's for that circulation there. We were talking about south of Duncan. Now remember, even over here, the storms are going to be moving a little erratically. So the circulating part of this storm here was moving southeast. Now it's moving more east, and this is going to move over the southern part of Stevens County. This is going to move through Comanche quickly, and then it'll actually move out kind of in the Oprah rural area and head towards Loco. Loco, you will be under the gun from this next if it were to hold together. We'll watch Jefferson County, but Jefferson County, you're kind of into that outflow boundary now. And what you're seeing here is, you're still able, these storms up here are still able to ingest some of this warm, humid air, and it's kind of interacting with this rain-cooled outflow gust front here, and that's allowed for the circulation to develop. I think that we're going to be okay, maybe down here in North Texas. I think that that rain-cooled air has finally caught up to the storm. It is dropping to the south. And I still think there could be some heavy rain in parts of perhaps northern northern parts of Wichita County, and include Burke-Burnett and down into parts of Clay County there too. But as far as this line of storms here, I don't know that it'll make it into Wichita Falls. We might get some rain. We might get clipped by on the western side of that here, maybe a little hail. But the threat for tornadoes, at least in this part of the line, while not at zero, is a lot lower than it was. I'm not nearly as concerned as I was back at the newscast. So I think that we're going to be okay down our way. Look at the velocities real fast, and you just don't really see anything in the way of rotation. Cameron, I'm going to go communicate with the newsroom real fast. You go ahead and talk about what you're seeing from your vantage point. Are you seeing any transitions from the wall clouds to more of a shelf cloud?
What I am seeing is the wall clouds are beginning to lift a little bit, which as we do see these wall clouds start to lift, does show that cooler air starting to prevail. Now remember, thunderstorms and severe storms, tornadoes, all types of storms, they need that warm, moist, humid air to thrive. However, we're seeing these storms lift up the wall clouds a little bit more, and first they were losing their structure. Now we're seeing them lift up more and more and become less and less organized in terms of tornado potential. Now, is the severe weather threat still there? Absolutely, that is still on the table, of course. But it looks like as these are pushing to the south, they're hitting some air that does not favor tornadoes as much. And as I look, I don't see anything that is too ominous looking on my part. I'm going to open the door and get a double look on this. We still got a wall cloud attached to the storm, but it's similar to what we saw just about 5-10 minutes ago, where it's still there, but it's just very ragged looking, not well structured, not well put together right now. But let's once this car passes, I'm going to hop in the back seat and pivot that camera a little bit more for y'all so you guys can see at home. But sounds like we're starting to get on some rain right now. We're on I-44 going south right now, so we are just about 5 miles north of the Oklahoma-Texas border right now. So I'm about to hop in the back, pivot that camera to that wall cloud right now.
That camera, we're going to go back over to the radar here, and we still got these tornado warnings out there. It still does include Burke-Burnett, but again on radar, at least from a meteorological standpoint, I think that these storms are finally. You can still see that wall cloud there. It's really nice there up there north of Duval, but I really don't see a lot in the way of organized rotation on this coming into Burke. I think Burke is going to be okay. We haven't been able to let our guard down, but the storm, at least for right now, appears to be behaving the way I would think it would. We're not going to completely, let our guard down, but we certainly are beginning to think that things are going to be okay in Burke. I still want to keep my eye though on, just to be on the safe side, the structure, at least from a radar standpoint, appears to be a little bit better with this Granfield storm. So we'll see, what happens with it as it drops south and southeast. I don't see a lot of rotation, but there are some strong winds in that back there. Heavy rain in Walters, none of that is tornadic, maybe some small hail, a little small hail over Comanche. We do got this one tornado warning that continues to cover southern parts of southern parts of Stevens, northern parts of Jefferson County. And if we take a look here at that, you can still see that rotation. It continues to hold tight there. I believe what's happening over here, a little different. You do got that rain-cooled air over this way, but it's still able to ingest that warmer. So this actually makes more sense to see perhaps a little tornado perhaps there northeast of Comanche, in Stevens County there, up there in the Oklahoma area. So that one certainly does make sense. Still got a really nice wall cloud there on Cameron's shot there, his feed, but I believe that mostly is going to be elevated, honestly. I'm going to switch to velocity sources to see if we can see anything differently in this. And as of right now, it looks like everything's going to be okay there. I am watching the Randelette area. It doesn't look like much. There are some different cloud motions in there, but I don't see anything that looks organized at this time. Also looking over the Granfield area, I don't see anything there at this time. So that's what we got. Our main storm we're watching now is actually over Stevens County. I am going to at least keep an eye on Wichita County, but remember what I was saying, that at some point this storm is going to run out of luck, and it's beginning to run out of it now. I think that we're seeing the end, at least for the most part, of the tornado-producing storms up here. And folks, again, I feel bad. I feel responsible because I told you not worried about this. This is a lower-end tornado day and nothing to worry about. And this storm went just bonkers up there in Tillman County. If I had to forecast it over, I might would mention tornadoes maybe, because I did see a little something there. But I certainly wouldn't have played that up. Saturday was a much stronger, much more favorable looking day. And I've told Cameron and Jaden this too, that our biggest severe weather days in this part of the country come on what we call mesoscale days. Mesoscale means smaller things in the atmosphere. You got synoptic scale, which is like big things, like a front, storm system, those kinds of things. Then you got mesoscale, which means smaller things. And it's the smaller things that usually produce severe weather in our part of the country, at least down here. Those big systems rarely produce. It's usually these smaller ones like this that usually do it. So, Cameron, is that a big wall cloud or a shelf cloud on your vantage point? That looks like a big wall cloud. Man, that thing's big still.
All right, Ken. So let's talk about what we're seeing right now. So right there, that looks like there's some RFD right there. I don't know how you want to word that, Ken. The more scary looking cloud, the one that's more attached to the top of cloud base. However, within there is a very well structured wall cloud. However, something that is worth noting is that right now I feel like this is starting to become outflow down. This is putting down a lot of cool air, very strong wind gusts. I'm on I-44. I'm pretty well south of this right now. Let's draw it up. I'm about 5 miles south of the storm, but the thing is, there's a lot of cool air coming out of the storm, so I think it's starting to switch to a bit more of an outflow downnet situation. However, you can't ignore the fact that there is still a large wall cloud on that storm, so I'm going to watch, see how this does hold intensity. I'm sitting on I-44, just 5 miles north of the state line. If I keep going north, I will be in Burke-Burnett, so we'll keep an eye on this, see if this does try to produce anything. I don't think it's in a super favorable environment with the way it feels outside, with how much outflow I feel this storm can, but with that wall cloud, you got to keep an eye on it.
And that's been some very, very reliable key information, and you've kind of shared that with me the last couple of times you've chased. You say, hey, look, the inflow here is cool. We're not really not ingesting warm air, and that warm air is essential. It has to have that warm air feeding into it. That you got to have the different contrasting temperatures, but that's what helps generate the different pressure in the storm. That's what helps generate the low pressure. But the warm air is very, very important to getting these storms to produce tornadoes. And if you don't have it, you don't have it. And it looks like these storms are what we call outflow. We call outflow dominant. Remember, if you hear me talk about it, we can go back full screen here on the radar. You hear me talk about the push and the pull. It's kind of a dance, and with a rotating thunderstorm that produces a tornado, you got to have a push and a pull. And the pull would be that warm air coming into it. The push would be some of the cooler air on the back side of it. Sometimes the air on the back side can be warm too, but you got to have the winds pushing from one direction and then pulling in from another. But in this situation, when they become outflow dominant, the winds are pushing and they're no longer pulling. I mean, you still may have some pull somewhere, but it would usually be up high in the sky and wouldn't be down in the lower part of the storm. That's the part of the storm you're worried about. It's producing a tornado. So what I'm going to do is, again, we got this tornado. I'm not ready to just completely go off the air yet here. I just believe that that this storm is probably going to be, it just doesn't appear to be as intense as it was when we first came on here. I'm not ready to to sound the all clear yet. In fact, I mean, you almost may see, perhaps, maybe, and it's hard to say here, there, in the way this has been behaving tonight, there appears to be maybe some type of a weak circulation, maybe there on the west side of Burke Burnett. Hard to say here. I mean, it's it looks like, though, that wouldn't even be in the thunderstorm. It wouldn't even be in the right place. But it looks like to me that maybe the storm up north is generating a little outflow boundary there, and then there's your gust front there. So I don't see any way this is ingesting warm air. I have no idea where it'd be getting it from at this point in time. So I just feel confident that this really, isn't going to produce too much. Let me see what the Weather Service is saying. Let me see if there's anything new. So they the spotters just west of Burke Burnett looking towards Granfield. This was as of, when was this time here? This was at 11:14, a few minutes ago. Large lowering, I cannot confirm rotation. And Cameron's got that. We've got that lowering on our chaser feed there. And it's hard to determine, but that may wind up being more of a shelf cloud extending down than it is a wall cloud. I can still see what looks like we can go to Cameron's feed here. We can talk about it a little more, but you can still see a little bit of a tail cloud, what looks like a tail. When you're at night, this is the challenges you face at night when you're trying to storm chase, is you're trying to identify cloud structures, because that's key to telling you, what's next with the storm. It appears as though that might be a shelf cloud, and a shelf cloud is just rain-cooled air extending down out of the storm. They'll produce some gusty winds, but that's not tornadic in nature. But that looks like a shelf cloud more than it does a wall cloud to me. I mean, I'm not there, so I don't know for certain. But that's what I'm seeing. Cameron, does that look more like a shelf cloud to you than it does a wall cloud, maybe?
Yeah, Ken, I was waiting on you to take me to talk about that. I think we are, those clouds are, don't get me wrong, absolutely terrifying looking. But I think that's we're starting to see a shelf cloud start to build. And, I can see how it would look like a wall cloud / RFD. But the thing is, that reason I believe it's a shelf cloud is because the winds are coming, these storms are all pushing almost due south roughly, southeast, southeast, roughly, let's say that. And where I'm at, I'm looking at I-44, the tracker's pointing north right now. This camera's looking off to the west right now. But the thing is, the wind we're getting right now is coming straight out of these storms. So it is cool sinking air coming out of these storms, and it's cool. I mean, it's almost borderline cold. It is very, very cool air. So I think these storms are outflowing out. As they outflow, you see that cool air come out. As you see that cool air come out, you see that shelf cloud build out, because what happens is that cool air sinks, and as it pushes forward, you get a really strong surge of cold air. It causes any of that moisture out ahead of it to rapidly rise, and it forms that shelf cloud looking structure. And then as it pushes through, at that point, you're mainly just dealing with some gusty winds and some heavy rain behind that. But your tornado threat with the shelf cloud is just about near zero. We can't say zero tonight right now, but your tornado threat with that shelf cloud potentially would be near zero as that pushes southward. So I think we're dealing with a shelf cloud now, so we're starting to see a transition where the storms are becoming outflow dominant, I believe. Right now, like I said, I'm on I-44, just 5 miles north of the state border right now, and I'm still keeping an eye on that left, on what could potentially be a hook trying to form just a little bit west of Burke Burnett. I don't know, Ken. It's just, I'm not convinced with the way it feels out here. There's no air really feeding into the storm, and as it pushes south with the cool air that is sinking out of the storm, if it tries to ingest that, it's just going to shut it down ultimately.
Yeah, great. So, all right, Cameron, thanks. All right, so back over to the radar. And what I'm going to do now is I'm feeling pretty confident about the storm. If anything changes, we'll go back on News Channel 6. But in the meantime, we're going to go back over and just do our coverage on Facebook Live and on our 24/7 news channel. That's 6.4. You can find it on the app. You can find it also on our website at newschannel6now.com. Burt Burnett, you still got the tornado warning, but I think that you're going to be okay. I think we're in pretty good shape. Most of what we're seeing is rain-cooled air now ingesting into that area. It no longer really appears to be tornadic to me. I can check out the velocities one more time. Of course, if you need to, if you want to continue to watch it, just go over there to that 24/7 news channel, and also the Facebook Live will be on over there too. So go ahead and go to those two sources right there, and we're going to go back to programming on News Channel 6, and if anything changes, we'll cut back in here as well.
This has been a severe weather alert from the First Alert Weather Team, sponsored by Texoma Storm Shelters.
All right, well, we're going to stay on right here where we're at now. I just felt like the overall structure and the way things are behaving now, we can probably kind of cut back some of the coverage a bit. I mean, I'm not leaving it. I'm not stopping it by any means. We're still watching it, but you know, it just doesn't appear to be you know, as strong as it was earlier. So I'm trying to see if there's any reports. There's some power poles down up there in Oklahoma. Randolph Fire Department on scene. Power poles down US 70, just west of US 277. That could be from some strong straight line winds, though. That doesn't necessarily mean tornado. Frederick Fire is on standby for southeastern Tillman County for search and rescue. You know, I don't have, you know, I don't have any reports here on this of, you know, the damage up there. I know we had some TDS, tornadic debris signatures there, so I know for sure that there was, you know, some damage there, but I don't know that it hit much. You know, it could have been some trees, or it could have been. I think that was a strong tornado at some point in time, or it looked like it anyway to me. It was. So you know, we'll watch it and see. You know, you still see some little flare-ups. Yes, ma'am. You're good? Yeah, you're good. You're good to go.
I know you said that. I just really wanted to make sure we didn't want to leave you and
yeah.
get crazier.
I'm all right. You know, I got Jeff up there in the booth. We'll be fine. So.
Okay. Digital, do they need to go?
They can go. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. This is what I'm mostly going to do right here, though, is what I'm doing now. So I'm not too concerned about it. So we're good. Okay. Thanks for y'all's help. Thank you. All right. So the news department is. Yeah, please. It's a lot cooler with that. So yeah, it's a lot cooler with the door open. I like that. So thank you. But the news department, you know, they've done such a great job, you know, lately with the they always do, but we really have been a strong team over the last couple of times, and some great leadership being shown by our news director Samantha Forrester, assistant news director Samantha Forrester, and Sharika Braggins, and you know, and just the whole team in general has just been really good. So, you know, I get some of the best I've seen in my time here. You know, it's just good to be on a good team. So we're going to continue to watch these things up here. You know, there's just not a lot of there's not a lot up there that you get too concerned with. Earlier tonight, these storms were, you know, they were defying some logic, but they seem to be behaving the way you expect them to now. You know, what I'm doing is I'm visualizing not only from my, you know, from the radar here, which, you know, I'm pretty good at being able to determine radar signatures here. We still got the tornado warning up here into parts of Stevens County. I don't want to forget about that. There is still a little rotation there just west of Loco, and it's moving right at Loco, and probably a pretty good idea to be in your shelter, because that's going to be a rain wrap. If there is a circulation with that's going to be wrapped in rain. So Loco, you're going to want to be in your safe spot. That would be your storm shelter. If you don't have one of those, lowest level of your house, no trailers. You get out of those things. That's the worst place to be. Lowest level of your house. Also, make sure that you're, you know, middle of your house. No windows, but just many walls between you and the outside winds you can. So but that's headed kind of towards Loco. A little weak circulation there. We'll keep an eye on it. You know, you still got this tornado warning there, but I think that you're seeing a larger, what called blanket severe thunderstorm warning now for just some gusty winds there, maybe some hail, most of which is small. I think a lot of these storms have become elevated in nature now behind that gust front. So you can see it. You can really see where the gust front is on radar. I'm gonna walk over to the wall, Jeff, so you can really see on the radar where that gust front is located at. That line that you see extending down. Hold on, I got to put my my clip on my tie. Give me just a second here. So there we go. So you're looking at these that line there, and that's your gust front. And a lot of times people, and my daughter did this the other day too. She sent me this picture and said, "Hey, look at all this rotating, all these scary rotating clouds." Well, it looks like that with this gust front, especially at night. It's going to look like we got low-hanging clouds everywhere. Okay, and they are low-hanging. It's going to look like wall clouds and funnel clouds and everything else. But one thing you got to remember though, this cloud is cold air or rain-cooled air. It's produced by the thunderstorms. You got to think that rain-cooled air is up in the thunderstorms, and it's heavier than the warm air that surrounds it. So it gets heavy and it begins to fall. And as it falls, it rolls like this. So it looks like it's spinning and rotating, and it is spinning, but it's not spinning like this. It's spinning like this. So it has more of a scary look to it, especially at night, like it's something to be worried about. But these are just mostly just wind producers. They can produce some big winds sometimes, but they're not tornado producers. You don't see the circulations back behind this like we did. There's still some gusty winds, especially up here in the northern Tillman County. Loveland, Hollister, those areas have really just been getting it on the chin tonight with tornadoes and strong winds, heavy rain, all that kind of good stuff. Still see a little bit of that circulation there just to the west of Loco, but it looks like that is weakening. That could still spin back up over here and maybe eventually head over towards the I-35 area. So they don't need any more. They had a lot of, now that was a really bad tornadoes the other night. So, but certainly was an interesting thing to see, and I'll be interested to see if the Weather Service puts out some type of a study or report on this, because I sure would like to know, you know exactly what all happened and took place and all this. I'm going to talk to some of my storm chaser buddies. A good friend of mine, Eric Fox, he knows a lot about this stuff too, and Brandon Clement, they're good guys, and see what they think, because my thoughts again, you don't want to miss these things. I don't want to let you guys down. I sound the button when I need to, push the alarm, and I felt like today wasn't an alarm day. So, but it's got to remember when there's that much instability around, any way you get storm boundaries interact. I think a lot of this was what we call mesoscale collisions and accidents is what caused all this. I think it's just a lot of boundaries interacting with each other. But we're still watching these. I'm not ready to sound the all clear yet. Looks like Cameron is on his way back down. Looks like he might be in Burt Burnett, passing on through. So Cameron, where are you at? Let's go to this tracker. Cameron, it looks like that you are you? What is your plan? Are you setting up in Burt Burnett and watching what are you doing now?
Yeah, Ken. So I just rolled into Burt Burnett. I think I'm gonna sit here for a minute or two and get another visual on this cloud that we were watching to see if it is more of a shelf structure. I've only seen some quick glances of it, but I'm rolling through Burt Burnett just a little bit right now to, like I said, get an eye on that cloud and see what really it is. I believe it's still a shelf cloud, and I'm looking at radar. You still have a little bit of that hook on the reflectivity signature. Velocity, it's pretty messy on velocity. Nothing too impressive right now. But we're going to venture into Burt Burnett a little bit and check out that cloud, get a shot on that, and then see if we can pretty much confirm that it is, in fact, a shelf cloud. So I'll have an answer on that in just a few minutes.
All right. So let's go back over to the radar. And, even the Weather Service is going to drop that tornado warning. They're saying what we're saying now. It looks like, they still continue with the tornado possible tag, but they're kind of like us. They see the downtrends in it, and it no longer just looks like it did. So I think we're going to be okay there in Burt Burnett. But you probably have had the siren sounding. I know people are probably scared to death up there, but if you're listening to me now, you're okay. I don't see anything that's too concerning, at least on this radar imagery. You do see what we call some convergence down in this area here. But I think that convergence is going to be mostly aloft, well up high above that storm. Now, the storm we're watching over here in Stevens County near Loco, that's very broad rotation, no longer appears to be tornadic to me at this time, but we'll see if that thing wraps back up over there in northeastern Jefferson County. But right now, I think Loco is probably going to be okay. In addition to that, let's look at the reflectivity on this. It's looking now more and more likely the storms are kind of, now that that outflow boundary has finally pushed out and become outflow dominant, it looks like to me now that Wichita County is going to miss out on a lot of the rain. So I'm ready to go ahead and probably say severe clear for Wilbarger County and a good part, at least the western half of Wichita County. There are some strong winds with that gust front dropping south. You're going to get some pretty decent wind gusts with that as it moves down into North Texas here, and it's going to move all the way down and Clay County, Archer County, those areas. Going to see some good winds, and temperatures are going to feel cooler behind that too. Now Burke Burnett may get at least some rain out of that, but that storm cluster is moving more east now than it was south, because it no longer has the rotation anymore. It no longer is spinning like it did, so you're not seeing the erratic storm motions like you did. Still some hail concerns up there towards Granfield and then in parts of Cotton County. Some heavy rain, maybe a little hail there up towards the Boy Scout camp. Maybe the northern part of Wichita County, just on the north side of Burke Burnett, some heavy rain, maybe a little small hail there. This could perhaps roll over towards the Red River, maybe down into northern Clay County. So Charlie, will watch you. Matter of fact, I hear the winds whipping up at the station now with that outflow boundary pushing on through. Pretty good winds here at the station. So as it pushes through, it's going to get windy, but just know, folks, that are watching this here in Wichita Falls, that is not it's not directly associated with the severe thunderstorm. Yes, it's produced by those storms up to the north, but it's not directly associated with that. So these are, matter of fact, it probably won't even rain behind it. I'm thinking those storms now, kind of putting the brakes. We kind of talked about that too. We said the conditions were not as favorable down in North Texas, and it's really been interesting to see these storms put the brakes on as they make their way to the Red River. I mean, they literally put the brakes on, and I still think they could cross over at least a little bit of Clay County. But the overall trend for these storms, it continues on that downward trend, which we are very, very excited about, very happy about, because it was just the way it was looking. We might get some spin-ups down there in North Texas if things continue that way, but we don't see it. Here's your velocities. There's, I really don't see much in the way of rotation. There's still some weak upper level spin, perhaps maybe up there in the southern parts of Cotton County, but that's should be well elevated, and I just don't see anything right now that looks too concerning. So that is certainly some good news. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to jump off the 24/7 and the social media train here. We're going to give myself time to kind of. Let me read before I do that. Let me read. Make sure there's nothing going on in the weather service. So. All right, so we're pretty good here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump off of my coverage now. I'll watch it for a while longer. We're going to go just with the crawl up on the screen here, and if we need to come back on, we will. But as of right now, I'm going to jump off, and this is going to kind of pretty much wrap up our coverage here, I think, at least for now. But I do appreciate you guys joining us here, and believe me, if anything changes, I'll jump back on here and be the first.